Now there will be the panel discussion. We have here some 4 questions, I guess. You could ask not only Mr. Nemeth from Hungary, but there is also Mr. Polasek, who is from Wiener Lokalbahnen. He's operational director of this company, and he also could answer some questions. One of them is there. It looks like you are kind of shy, so please do not hesitate to ask some questions if you have some. And we could start with the ones which are now in chat. There's one from Mr. Chovanec, which is regarding the Szeged system in Hungary. And he's asking about some change of the legal things. I guess the legal situation in Czech Republic is for not very much in favor of the tram-train systems. I think there's no regulation at all. So we would like to know more about the changes which were done in Hungary.
Okay, so let's go to the details of the regulations in Hungary. So there are basically 2 main regulations for railways. I think it's similar in this sense to Czech Republic. One is basically now converted to the European regulations for the mainline railways for mainline European train standards. This was previously a separate Hungarian regulation, but it is currently phased out. So in this sense, this is common European law. The other one is everything else. So all those railway systems which are not part of this open railway network, that those are there's one big legislation, and that was basically in Hungary. It's called OVS. I'm not going to explain the letters 1 and OVS 2. And OVS 1 is phased out to European regulation. OVS 2 remains, and that covers the metros, the trams, the cogwheel railways, the suburban railways of Budapest, the Millennium Railway, and there are some narrow gauge railways. So these are just lumped into this second category. So in some sense, the laws are basically the same, just for the authorization process, but different part of the legislation has to be applied. Since the integration is through the vehicle, and basically you have two big chunks of mainline railway and tram track as a basic standards. So they're basically for the infrastructure, these 2 laws apply separately. The vehicles have to conform to both. There is a separate legislation in order to authorize a vehicle, and we have to start with a preliminary authorization where you set up the requirements for the vehicle, and these have to be also approved by the authority, and of course there you have to comply to both standards. And there is, of course, the question of the interface, which was at the time of our project completely unregulated, basically invented from the scratch with the cooperation of the authority. And I would say that the legal background was taken the standpoint that the authority is the one who has to apply these rules, and the authority can make exceptions in case of circumstances that is requiring exceptions. So basically, the interface part and the and the vehicle authorization was done partly as exceptions ruled by the authority without, let's say, proper legal background. This is the reason why I said that there was lots of things which were implemented as local regulations just for the tram trains. And right now, during the project, the government has established at least the notion of tram train in the law. So there is tram train, but there was no detailed regulations. The only thing which basically set in stone that the tram parts of the tram train service don't become an open part of the European open railway network. So the tram track remains as a tram track. And now again, the legislation is tried to catch up by establishing this new notion of multi-segment railways, and the special regulation for that is under development and probably will be issued in the following years. But again, the basic idea is there is no regulation for tram trains. There is regulations for tram. There is regulation for railway. And there is a separate regulation when you want to marry or make an interface between two systems. So that's the current state of the Hungarian regulations regarding tram trains.
Okay, thank you. So if I understand it right, you just have to authorize the vehicles to go on the track. And the other things are just with some exemptions of the law which was already taking place, and just the legislation now just starts to catch up the state which is now there. Am I right?
Exactly. So there was no previous legislation. Rather, this was viewed as an experimental project where everybody decided that the government legislation for the law part and the decree parts from the ministry is going to be done posteriorly. But right now, also the ministry intent is that all these technical requirements are going to be not as ministerial decrees or just the basic ones, but there would be some flexibility through I don't know the technical terms already. This is there is a recently in Hungary a railway committee, a railway technical committee was established, and they can issue also decrees and also recommendations. And this is where the exact details of the multimodal railway prescriptions will be. So this is going to be a decree from the Hungarian Railway Technical Committee, and the ministerial decree is going to basically just establish the definitions and the main features, but all the technical requirements, since it's prone to development through the years, we are not willing to set in stone in laws or ministerial decrees, rather push down one more level to the decree or recommendation of the Railway Technical Committee. And again, tram train needs that because no tram trains are the same. So you cannot if you have the parameters in Szeged, you are not going to be able to apply in Budapest, for example. So that's why it has to be in this level. And again, when the whole authorization of the current Tram-train project, all these specific regulation was pushed down to basically to the company level. But in Hungary, also the tram companies have to have railway safety certificates, and with the certification of of the extension of the railway certificate was meant that we created this new safety regulations, and those were approved in this sense and became a decree in this sense that that the authority not just gave authority for the tracks, for the railway, the rolling stock, but also for the safety certificate of both for the state railway, for both for the Szeged transport company, and also for the service provider Mávstart. So there are now the prescriptions or the decrees which are Tram-train specific, and this would be pushed to in the future as again, there is going to be middle level that at least prescribes the actual content which needs to be at the local level, and it is going to be at the railway technical committee's decree. I'm not sure whether it's clear, but there are 4 levels of legislation here.
I think the main message is clear, and it sounds quite simple. The approach is quite simple, and I guess that could be right also for us. But at the moment, I think no one is going to implement any tram-train system in the Czech Republic because they simply say there's no legislation, so you can't do that. And I think approach is very good, actually.
I must say that these wouldn't have gone through the Hungarian legislation. There wasn't any big, let's say, push from the politics side. That it was decided in 2015 and 17 gradually that they want to do this project, and basically started to crack the whip in order to push it through to the system, and that meant that everybody was much more compromised. So railway technical legislation is always safety conscious, and that's why nobody is really want to make risky decisions, and you have to push basically each side to compromise, and that was the key here. That there was lots of discussions where it finally took shape, that especially regarding the signalization system, what was acceptable and what was beyond limits.
Okay, great. Another question is actually that's my question. I wasn't sure why you wanted to change the size of the rolling stock. You said that there was in the middle of the project there was some change from 265 to from 2.5 meters to 265 meters. Why was it taking place? What was the reason?
Yeah, the reason was that, first of all, that so in Hungary, Budapest and Szeged remained after 2010 projects with the width of the vehicles maximum 2.5 meters. Budapest, it's even more complicated than that. We decided that the widest vehicle will be 2.5 meters, according to basically the Czech standards, because you are the one who are producing 2.5 meter wide trams. And we decided that the maximum length of the vehicle will be 34 meters, and all our platforms in 2010 was basically set up to have this distance, or the length and distance. These were the main parameters. Then came the feasibility study, where of course the route 1 was Szeged was set to be a existing line and with its existing parameters. So we overshot with the length of the vehicle with 3 meters. It's 37 meters instead of 34 meters. But the doors are not in the front. So, and we were lucky in the sense that all the platforms had 6-meter ramps attached. So everywhere we had 40 meters in every stop. Then the feasibility study prescribed certain passenger numbers. By the way, those passenger numbers which were estimated in 2015, we are over that. So the project is not going through the media, but we have higher passenger numbers already that was already projected. So in a sense, the project is successful. But this prescribed that we have to have at least a vehicle which have at least a capacity of 2 solo interurban buses, which meant that we have to have at least 90 seats in the vehicle. So you have to have, so that was the reason why, first of all, the toilet was eliminated. Distance that was not requiring a toilet for, let's say, 45 minutes of travel time. Also in Berlin S-Bahn and all this S-Bahn system, there are no toilets, although they are also partly integrated with mainline railway. Second of all, we had to have vehicles where you can have 4 seats in a row. So that was the reason why 2.5 meters, 2.4 meters was excluded, and basically Stadler had and also Alstom had only vehicles which were 2.65 meters wide in production. And Stadler even had to modify their underframe. And the Regio Citadis in Kassel. Kassel is actually the closest example for us, because Kassel also has an existing tram network where the maximum width of the vehicle was 2.4 meter, and they managed to get a cross section of the 2.65 meter tram train that it still fits to the elevated platforms of the tram network, which was originally built for 2.4 meter wide cars. So the width and the lengths were basically coming from the feasibility study, which proposed the frequency and proposed the capacity for the vehicle, which had to be met. And that was the reason of deciding to go wider, which, by the way, caused no real problem, because the safety regulation of the tram was so big margins that basically there was, except for a few platforms, nothing had to be changed regarding the infrastructure in Szeged. I want to reflect also on the fact that indeed these tram trains have axle load around 12 tons, so 120 kilonewtons. The PESA trams had 115, but all the tracks in Hungary, all the tram tracks are prescribed to have 150 kilonewtons of axle load. So there was also no problem in this sense to connect to, or to have the tram track as a infrastructure.
Okay, so I think I get it right. It's actually the matter of capacity, the width of the vehicles.
Yeah, and the restriction of the existing infrastructure.
Okay, yeah, okay. Another question is about the platforms. It's well, we could see in your presentation that there is not much stops on the conventional, the railway line. Wouldn't be easier to just build another platform somewhere I don't know, somewhere else, not in to alter the vehicles to the rolling stock?
I should say that so in my presentation I've shown you examples in Kassel where there was both examples for where there was no modification. So basically they built platforms suitable for trams and used the line as a tram train, and also there are where the vehicle itself goes out to mainland railway. The decision was made basically because Stadler had an option for that. There was another option that we basically built a short 30-centimeter high platform in Audio. The Audio was the only station which has now railway standards on this line. The reason why the state railway company stuck to the idea that there should be also compatibility with 55-centimeter high platforms is that they expect that there will be plans for other tram-train operation in Hungary, and there should be some transferability of the vehicle in the future. And they say that, okay, the Hungarian State Railways accessibility compatible platform height is 55 centimeters. So they stick the idea that they will build 55 centimeters everywhere. So in this sense, you are right. There's only one stop. On the other hand, I understand state railways thinking that they want to stick to one level of platform for accessibility for all kinds of railway vehicles. In Audio, there could be also other passenger vehicles, and they even don't want to use different platforms for the tram trains and the mainline railway service. So that's basically standardization was the reason behind here. Although again, this could have gone otherwise if there would have been other bidder for the rolling stock. For example, if we have thought about Regio Citadis quite a lot, Regio Citadis has also can go outside of the so this goes in mainline railways, but it has only 30-centimeter high doors. And in Kassel, they either build a short section of platform which is 30-centimeter high, and I've seen that they, without any issue, open a door to a 55-centimeter platform. You have to step up in order to get off the vehicle, which is not ideal, and in Hungary they didn't allow. So that's the reason for that. In Audio, our tram train vehicle opens only 2 doors and not all 4.
Okay, I think it's clear. The last question is also for you, and it's about some economical benefits. So are there any noticeable economical benefits? You have spoken about the amount of passengers that you have exceeded your projected amounts, which is great. So what about some feasibility?
I mean, it has to be said that that there are lots of articles regarding the feasibility of the project. So this was definitely not a cheap project. I would say that Hungary spent much more money on much more stupider project than the tram trains. But I would say that tram train has not a good press right now, but I would say that regarding the passenger numbers and the income which was projected, it is met. You can read other things in the Hungarian newspapers. It's false. We are good with passenger numbers, and we are good with the income of the service. Of course, the income is not just coming from the tickets. It's a much more complex system than that. Regarding other economical factors, it's too young, the service. So this is only started in 2000. So it's 2 years old, basically this end of November. I can say that there is definitely, we see higher mobility between the two cities. We were just recently visited Argyő, and the mayor of Argyő was surprised at how didn't expect to have such a high passenger numbers from Argyő, and they realized that that suddenly having a bicycle or a scooter is something which was previously not a mode of transport in Argyő. They rather went by bus or by car. So this is a good thing. I would say that there is going to be definitely some additional developments in Hódmezővásárhely, which are external stuff, but I am optimistic regarding the economical benefits. All these projects has basically lots of externalities which you don't really see from here, but I can definitely say that seeing the passenger numbers, seeing that you have to understand also that in Hódmezővásárhely, in the model split, there was only previously tram-train, there was only 2% using public transport and 48% was using bicycles. So we had to have 48% bicycle. Yeah, that's something not very unusual. In Szeged, it's something like 31% public transport and 20% bicycle. So the possibility to have we can see that, for example, in every stop there was hundreds of bicycle racks built, and all of them are full. Also in Szeged, we didn't expect that Szeged-Rókus, which was a peripheral city, we have the bicycle rack is full. So we can only see that not just public transport, but all these micromobility options became a factor, and this is probably one of the main cause of the popularity of the service.
Okay, well, I think it's like in one of the American movies. How is that? It's like if you build it, they will come. So it's about the passengers. I guess it's right also in this case.
I must say that the feasibility study initially calculated a much bigger restriction of the bus service between Szeged and Hódmezővásárhely. So there was an established bus route with express buses and normal buses between the two cities. Currently, basically, the frequency of the bus service is the same as the tram train. So, and initially it was supposed to be, the buses were supposed to remain only hourly, and both seems to be needed. So initially the bus passengers were supposed to be traveling by tram train, but it seems to us that instead there is an increased mobility between the two cities. So that I cannot give you exact data because I don't have yet, but this is what we see as an observation for the service right now.
Yes, but it's great. There is another question for you, which landed right now. This modal split you mentioned in the city I can't pronounce, and Szeged, trips within city limits or total modal split, including trips away from the city. Okay, well, the modal split, when you said the number of cyclists, there was some noise here in the office because it's really unusual for us. So could you comment more on the modal split, please?
Yes. Maybe I once again just take my picture. I'm going to share it and just give you some figures which are not included in my original presentation. And this is in Hungarian, but this is what the modal split in the cities, and this is what you see in Hódmezővásárhely. So this 47 is the bicyclist, and the 2% is the public transport. in average Hungarian provincial cities, you can see it's much different panel than that. And you can see here examples of the usage of bicycle everywhere, basically. And I have somewhere, yeah. So between the two cities, this was the original mobile state before the project. It was also majority between Hódmezővásárhely and Szeged. There was also majority autobus. The green is autobus, the red is the car, and the blue is the train. And you can see that the role of the train was marginal before the project. It was even more pronounced from Argyő, where the majority went by car and the minority went by bus. It was the opposite of between Hódmezővásárhely and Szeged. I cannot give you current model split. We don't have data for that, but definitely right now the public transport model share is the tram-train. But I cannot give you any more data regarding the model share or current model share of cars and autobus. And I have to also mention that this is from 2015, but the number of cars in Szeged, or the environment of Szeged, you can see in 2015 it started to increase rapidly, which means that definitely the car usage was booming in the last 5 years. So this is not true anymore. I cannot give you any more precise answers for that the mobility is increasing definitely between the two cities, and the railway mode is now, of course, the majority between these areas, and the buses are still significant. And my guess is that the public transport share is more or less the same as the car share, but I don't have any more data about this.
Yes, but still, it looks great. There's just a comment. How is it in Brno? We have only just 2% of bicycle rides. I guess it includes people like me using scooter also. So it's very much different.
I have to comment that all that area what you have seen is a big flat land. So there are no hills in Szeged and Hódmezővásárhely, which we are in this sense much more like Holland in terms of flatness. Regarding electric scooters, I want to make one more point. So SKT has also engaged with Lime to have scooter sharing, which is not as successful which we first imagined, but what we have seen that once people started to try out and use electric scooters, they suddenly went and bought their own. So instead of using the sharing service, lots of people bought their own scooters, and scooters have the advantage that they can be relatively easily taken with on a tram train, much easier than in a bicycle. We encouraged people to leave the bicycle at their stop and go by tram train, but scooter is somewhere in the intermediate category. So, and last time I was traveling on the Badnerbahn in Vienna, and I also seen that at least 4 or 5 scooters on board. So there is much more potential here regarding micromobility, and this is definitely what Argyő experienced, where the mayor didn't even think initially that bicycle and scooter could be an alternative to car. And it could be if you just go to the railway station and go in Szeged by tram train, and this is definitely here a generational gap. So the younger people seem to much more prefer this option than going by car.
Well, I have to say I'm from the category you have spoken about, because I have used rental or shared scooters twice, and then just bought for myself the one because it was actually costly. Anyway, there's another question, and it's for Mr. Paul, I guess. So thank you for the moment, and we will have, or I hope there is Mr. Polasek from Wiener Lokalbahnen. There's one question for him. Hello. The question is, well, for us, the system from Wien to Baden is considered as a tram-train system, but do you consider it also the same in Austria?
Yes. The Badner Bahn is older than the Austrian railway law. Our roads are at 1873. So the law always recognized there must be some rules only for Badner Bahn. With EU, there is the possibility in the interoperability regulation to make city transport and city round transport and region traffic, which must not be in the interoperability, and this is the part in this part we are, and we must not use the TSIs, and that's exact only for transit tram and our traffic.
Okay, thank you. There's another question which is not actually in the chat window, and it's about the approval of the rolling stock. What is the approval process for the rolling stock at your Wien-Baden Bahn?
We have new cars from now Alstom, former Bombardier. We proved in which category it must be taken for the crash security of EN 15227. It have to be. It must fit to the Wiener tramways, and it have to fit to our heavy rail transport. We have only one train on the thing, but it must also fit. So we had a middle way. We had 40 tons crash norm. The tramways are by 20 tons, and heavy rail are by 120 tons. So, but there's more, like Siemens said. There's often more the problem to crash with the tram than with one train on our section. But our train is 2.50 meters wide, and it had crash elements to tramway, to the new flexities of the Wiener tramway. And it had crash elements to heavy rail.
Okay, so if I understand it right, there's actually two processes which has to take place. So one approval is for like tram system, and another approval is for track system or railway system. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And also there are other Other questions?
Sorry, may I comment this from the Szeged perspective?
Yeah.
So the vehicle of Szeged has European crash norm of C3 and P3. So these are existing categories. There is a special category for lighter than conventional railway, which was, I think, used generally by Stadler for all their projects. So Stadler delivered recently to Karlsruhe, to Chemnitz, to Sheffield, and so I would say that this is something where you don't have to invent everything from scratch, and that was recently changed, but these are fitted, these vehicles are fitted in this sense. Regarding crashes in Szeged, there was one crash in the depot where a tram train was met with a tram with significant damage, but this was not a frontal crash, it was from the side. We didn't have any crashes between trams and tram trains. We don't really expect to have that. We had a very stupid crash in between two tram trains in last year, where the two vehicles damaged. But the most of the crashes are between cars and tram trains, where basically the car ignores the safety regulations of the road and just turns in front of the tram train. In this sense, there is no difference between a tram and tram train. Usually the tram is without damage and there is a significant crash on the car. Again, there is no difference in this situation between a tram and a tram train, although there is a significant difference of the rigidity of the frame. But every tram and tram trains are much more rigid than any car, so it's the same in this sense.
Okay, there is also a question about the fire safety. I think you both could comment on that. Actually, but in Szeged there is also some diesel engine. How is it about the fire safety? Is there any problem, or it's just?
Actually, fire safety was not a concern. First of all, we don't operate in a tunnel, as you said. And the second thing is that the standard authorization also requires safety measurements for fire safety. There is no difference from a regular DMU car than between a tram train. It is not concerning SKT, it's concerning Mavstart, and I'm just guessing that if they are, again, so there is no difference between a regular diesel rail car in this sense.
Okay, thank you. I think it was also regarding the people with electric scooters, which in Brno there's very creative approach to the problem of people with electric scooters boarding the vehicles, and they just ban entering with electric scooters to the vehicles and say it's not possible due to fire safety. But I guess it's just some kind of excuse, because I don't think it's really relevant, but maybe I'm not.
I would say that all these safety issues are compromises, and of course the easiest thing to say that I don't want to have any accident in any case, that the best thing is to ban everybody. But again, in this case you can ban people to enter the streets because there's a potential safety risk there. So this is I would say that this is these safety issues could be used as a weapon, and I am also responsible for safety. I'm safety officer at Szeged Transport Company, but I don't like this attitude at all. That okay, there has to be compromises everywhere.
Well, thank you for this opinion. I gladly hear that. Another question is for Mr. Polasek. Is it possible to operate personal and freight trains in the same time on your system?
Yes, the freight trains run between the regular personal trains, but we have only personal trains in light rail vehicles. No heavy rail. Szeged has heavy rail and light rail on this on the Hungarian railways. We have only our own route and only on light rail personal train. So we can build lower floors of our stations.
Okay, understood. Thank you. There's another question is about the headway of the two trains. So the headway is between the trains, the distance between the trains. It could be the distance like in kilometers, or it could be time distance. So could you comment on that?
We drive all 7.5 minutes, and yes, we have 28 cars outside on 16 rounds, and we have now 14 a little bit of more 14 million passengers per year.
Oh, well, so you said the 7.5 minutes. It's between the personal trains. The question was more like what is the headway between the freight train and the passenger train? From what it is derived? Why? How do you say the freight train could go?
We have many parts we can drive on our track in a distance of 3.5 minutes. So there is the place to get the freight train between the person.
Okay,
trains.
okay. And what limits it? It's limited by some operational system, or how is it limited?
There's no limit. Only we have not much customers which take freight.
Okay.
But the freight gets on one side in our line and gets then in a Anschlussbahn. There's outside. There's no managing the train on the station.
Okay, I understand it. Okay, thank you. Can I comment on this also from Szeged perspective? So I want to go back to the my presentation and just flash one slide. So this is the tram-train track between Szeged and Hódmezővásárhely. You can see that it has several single track sections. The most notable one is the Tisza Bridge between at Algyő. You can see this all these stop tracks at the end of the substation. These are the single track sections. These are definitely built in due to the fact that in this case, if you build these safety stubs, you can decrease the distance between the trains entering the single track sections. So right now in this section, we have maximum 20 minutes interval, but of course in bidirectionally, there is a train for each direction every hour, and there is basically daily maximum two freight trains. The smallest headway according to the schedule is 3 minutes when there is according to schedule there is a mainline train, and just 3 minutes after a tram train is going, which is again a standard signalization dependent headway. So it really depends on the mainline signalization, what is the maximum capacity of these tracks, and what is standard by mainline signalization is the limit for the frequency also for the tram trains, which are mixed in this sense. But again, so this means that in the peak hour, there is in both directions, there is 8 trains are going through in this section, for example, in this single line section. But again, it's both directions, 4 in one direction and 4 in the other direction.